Do you know what it's like to watch a child slowly wither away? Not because of a deadly disease, but because of something as simple as malnutrition? This is the story of Simon, a young boy who lived in a small village with his parents. Like many children in rural areas, Simon had little to no access to a proper diet. The signs of severe malnutrition were etched into his small body: the discolored hair, the protruding stomach, the rashes that seemed to come and go, and the sadness in his eyes. His family had no idea what was happening to him, nor did they have the resources or knowledge to change his situation. Simon was brought to the hospital after we noticed his alarming health condition. His swollen belly, pale hair, and fatigued demeanor were clear signs that he was battling severe malnutrition. As we waited for the lab results, we feared the worst. His condition was heartbreaking, but the village he came from offered no solution. Without proper nutrition or medical care, Simon was caught in a vicious cycle of poor health. When the results came in, it was worse than we had hoped. Simon was suffering from kwashiorkor, a form of malnutrition that occurs when the body doesn't get enough protein. His condition had progressed so far that it wasn't just his outward appearance that was affected. Simon's internal organs were beginning to fail. His spleen was dangerously enlarged, and his liver was inflamed, showing signs of severe distress. The doctor told us that if we hadn't brought him in, Simon could have died from these complications. The situation was dire. Simon's parents had no idea what was happening to their son, nor could they afford the treatment that he so desperately needed. Every day they continued to feed him the same improper diet, not out of negligence, but because they simply didn't know any better. They didn't know what Simon's body needed, and as a result, his health continued to deteriorate. We decided right then and there that we couldn't leave Simon in the village. His parents were loving but uninformed, and keeping him in that environment would have been a death sentence. I made the difficult decision to bring Simon to Koforidua, where I could ensure he got the medical attention he needed. It wasn't an easy choice. How do you separate a young boy from his family, from everything he knows, even if it's for his own good? Simon needed consistent medical supervision, so I hired a doctor who agreed to visit him every 2 weeks, monitoring his progress and running routine checkups. It was an expense I gladly bore because I knew that Simon's life depended on it. At first, it was tough for Simon. He was in a new place, surrounded by strangers, and the food was unfamiliar. He struggled to adjust, but slowly, with time and love, Simon began to adapt. The joy of seeing him play with the neighborhood children, his face lighting up as he ran around, was priceless. He was starting to come back to life, and that gave me hope. But it wasn't without challenges. Simon's diet had to be carefully controlled to make sure he got the right balance of nutrients. His liver and spleen were still healing, and any misstep could set him back. The doctor advised us not to overfeed him, even though his appetite had returned with full force. It was clear that Simon was on the path to recovery, but there was still a long way to go. Through it all, I couldn't shake the guilt of taking Simon away from his family. His parents, as unknowing as they were, loved him deeply. They just didn't have the means to provide what Simon needed. But every time I thought about sending him back, I remembered what the doctor said, that Simon might not survive if he returned to the same environment that made him sick. I had to make peace with the decision to keep him in Koforidua, knowing that it was the best chance he had for a full recovery. The emotional toll of this journey weighed on me heavily. Simon's health was improving, but the thought of what could have happened if we hadn't intervened haunted me. How many other children like Simon were out there suffering in silence because their families lacked the knowledge and resources to care for them properly? It was a sobering thought, one that made me even more determined to help Simon heal. Simon's case was further complicated when we learned that he had the AS genotype, meaning he was a carrier of the sickle cell trait. While he didn't have full-blown sickle cell disease, it was still crucial for him to maintain a healthy diet and lifestyle to prevent any future complications. His parents had no idea about his genotype, and I couldn't help but wonder how many other children were in similar situations, undiagnosed and at risk simply because their families didn't have access to basic health care. Despite all the obstacles, Simon's story is one of hope. His health is gradually improving, and soon he will be well enough to start school. The thought of Simon, once a weak and sickly boy, now thriving and ready to embark on his education journey, fills my heart with joy. I have no doubt that Simon will grow into a strong, healthy young man, and that he will go on to do great things in life. He's a survivor, and his resilience is a testament to the power of love, care, and proper nutrition. As I reflect on Simon's journey, I am reminded of the importance of helping others, especially those who are most vulnerable. Sometimes all it takes is one person to make a difference in someone's life. If you ever find yourself in a position to help someone, do it without hesitation. Don't think about the cost or the difficulty. Think about the life you could be saving. For Simon, that meant taking him away from the only home he had ever known, but in doing so, we gave him a chance at life. To everyone who has followed Simon's story, I want to say thank you. Your support means the world to us, and I promise to keep you updated on his progress. We're not at the end of this journey yet, but we're getting closer every day. Simon is eating well, playing with other children, and living a happy, healthy life, and I am so grateful to have played a part in his recovery. If Simon's story has touched your heart, please consider subscribing to this channel. Asonaba Owusu Aduomi. We're all on this journey together, and I look forward to sharing more stories of hope, resilience, and the power of love. Let's continue to let love lead in our lives, because love truly is bigger than everything. Thank you for watching, and please keep Simon in your thoughts and prayers as he continues to heal. Together, we can make a difference, one child at a time.
Yes, it's daddy.